funny. We
Yeah,
were talking
always
about
step up.
Alex. We were talking earlier about Alex and how much of a superstar she is with planning and events and stuff. Sticking with the car analogy, you have people that fill their tank when it's at half because they're thinking, I
Yes.
want to keep my tank full. And then you have
Hmm.
people who wait till it's on E and then they say, oh, I need to get some gas. And then you have people like Alex that wait till the light is on and it's
I
been
know
on
my
E for
car.
2 or 3 days. I know my
I
car.
know my
When I need
car.
to get a gas, I'll put some gas back in it. And that's how people are with their fitness too, right? There's people like I'm
Yes.
good and I want to be optimal. There's people like, okay, I'm going down. I still got some time before I really need to dial it in. And there's
Yeah.
people who I call my court ordered, people. The doctor said you are 48, you're gonna die at 49 from diabetes if you don't start doing something, and then they sign up.
Georgia Southern University. Worked high performance at Set Performance or Sanders Elite Training Performance down in Jacksonville.
Okay.
Worked at Mississippi Valley State University. I've worked at Florida A&M University. So uh,
Okay.
been a little bit of here, been a little bit of there. Jacksonville. So like we get guys like Tyson Alualu,
Mm-hmm.
Avery Jones. We had Will Blackman for a bit. We get a lot of the Jacksonville Jaguar guys. We'll get a
Yeah.
lot of the we'll get some athletes who live in Jacksonville or just came through the Jaguars circuit. As far as in like you don't want to like in the off season, you want something that's going to be specialized or catered to exactly what it is that you want to do.
Okay.
Whether it be, hey, I know I need to get stronger. Hey, I need to work on some muscular imbalances. Hey, I need to really fine tune my my nervous system to perform at a higher level. Um,
Yes.
we got guys like what's this guy's name? Oh, his name escapes. Uh, like Nolan Rimo for the Orioles. So we get like athletes from different walks.
Different sports. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
a base runner is going to be different than a kickoff returner, which is going to be different than a 400-meter runner.
100.
So, from your perspective, what's the difference in terms of how you would train those different athletes using baseball, football, and straight track? And what would be the similarities in the way you would train them?
So they're
That's what I
at
guess.
the
Opening
like
with a
for
technical
us.
question, man.
All right. So I would say like what you end up doing is you look at the you look at the needs of the athletes first. Because if you have an athlete-centered approach,
Yep.
no matter whether you run the 400, whether you run, bases, everyone's going to accelerate. So
Yes.
meaning getting started, having a fine-tuned nervous system so that you can engage as many muscles as possible as soon as possible. So
Mhm.
like I said, even like on the kickoff return, like you play football, like one of the things that football players have an advantage on is like multiple snaps. So your nervous
Yes.
system is almost like super heightened because
Yes.
like you've done what you get 200 to 300 starts a game or something like that, or
Right.
between
Yeah,
like
I guess.
100 and 200 starts a game where you're
Yeah.
just firing off. So we look at first the athlete in general. We look at injury history because injury history is it tells you a lot about what they've done right or what they have not done correctly.
Mhm.
And then from there, we look at where we are in the year because, at the end of the
Yes.
day, speed should be trained year round, at least acceleration should be, because
Okay.
the ability to rate code and recruit as much muscle as possible and to just keep the nervous system fired. That is one of those things that you really can't put a price on it. Like if
Yes.
you're a home run hitter, right? The ability to just see a 95 plus or 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Hey, I don't have to see a 95-mile-an-hour fastball in order for my nervous system or my eye to be able to, you know, identify the speed of it.
Yes.
So
Yes.
energy system is key. If you're a
Yep.
400-meter runner, you're going to get into lactate. So
Mhm.
the body's ability to buffer and utilize lactate as the energy substrate, not think of it as a bad guy, as opposed to, if you're in a sport like football where it's like, hey, more so power endurance. Um, at the end of the day, speed at the highest levels, you want to be able to get the body going as quickly as possible. I have a philosophy that,
Hi,
look, there's
Lini.
only one human body, but there's a million sports or a million functions of the human body. Like
Yes.
one of the things I was watching you the other day, you were talking about a formal training of Pilates, and you were saying,
Yes.
oh well, I don't have a dancing background, but we'll get there. We'll get to a certain level of fluency. And I
Yes.
think with each person, you always come with your own tools in your bag, whether you play baseball all your life or you play multiple sports. You
Yes.
come with a level of like some tools in your bag. On
Yes.
the front end of your professional career, you really want to maximize your overall abilities. Like, hey, I need to bulletproof my body. I need to make sure that I have a wealth of movements as well as my specialties.
I had Jason Martin on, and it was funny because like as we were talking about different topics and like strategies and whether it's like sleep or nutrition or like almost every answer was, well, it depends, it depends, it depends, and like we were joking by the end of it, he said, I'm gonna write a book and call it like it depends because there are so many strategies and so many things. Like there's such an individualized approach to training that comes into it. I can't say, okay, you 15 guys, we're going to try and run, this number today, or whatever it is. Like everything all comes down to so many different factors. Now,
Yeah.
Hitten had the question, as I've been asking, I've been wondering, what is 1080, man? Like, why do you call it 1080 speed?
Okay, so 1080. So it's 2020. Well, I'm getting old. Around 2009, 2010. So I started my first company, which is High Definition Sports,
Okay.
which is essentially what it is. So eventually that evolved into the branding of 1080 speed, because when you look at the highest quality of training, meaning like
Yes.
detail oriented,
Yes.
you think about like television pixels. So it's like, hey, if I'm looking, like we do a lot of video analysis
Yes.
in my training. So we're gonna
Yes.
look at your biomechanics a lot. So
Yes.
when you look on there, like the highest quality that you're gonna get, like yeah, there's 4K, but when
Yes.
you go in, you're doing high speed and you're slowing it down to 120 frames per second, it's gonna say 1080. So when you're
Gotcha.
looking at trying to make sure things that are precise the way that they should be, and you want to see them, at a level that the trained eye can't see,
Yes. You got
you
to be
want
at
high
1080.
definition. Yeah, exactly.
Man, I never would have guessed that. Like that, like that.
Look, it's
Like we're
it's
like,
it's
is that like
almost
was that his
crazy.
100 meter time, man? Was that like his
No,
like
no, I was
was that
faster than
his
that.
okay.
No, but look,
What was your
honestly,
best
if
what
you
was your
go
best
look,
100 time?
shoot, I was a mid 10 guy, like 10.5 guy.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but this is one of the things, like it's everywhere. Like you purchase a television, you purchase a camera, like you look at, like you go into your settings on your phone, it's everywhere because it's
Yes.
a standard. It's not just, oh, hey, well, hey, I can get
Yes.
any camera. It's like, no, I want a certain standard that I want to, live up to.
Yes.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I love that, man. So, I heard that you're interested in getting into Pilates.
Oh man, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's as soon as you said that, when you talk about the 1080 and just like looking at the attention to details, then it made that connection. Like, all right, because you know that like when you get into Pilates, you're looking at the minutia of
Mm,
every movement. It's not just like this free flowing. It's like controlled movement, understanding. So yeah,
the, well,
yeah,
not only that, but like it's not only just the movements themselves, but it's the verbiage, right? Like we talk
yes,
about cueing, having rich words. Like there's a certain language that you have to speak in order to instruct Pilates or
yes,
instruct anything at a high level. And some of the things like we look at like in sports, like people are constantly overusing the same cues and thinking that it means the same thing to everyone, and it
right,
doesn't.
right,
So it's not just the sports aspect of it, it's the overall theme. Like, hey, like if I told you, hey, I want you to run like you're going to run for, if a train was late, if you've never had a train, like you never had to catch a train or be late for a train
yes,
or a metro,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
like, I can only imagine. Like me being from Florida, we didn't use trains. Like, well, if you were late for the school bus and you had to run and get to the school bus, and they were like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember that one time
yeah,
I had to grab my bag and I had to. It's
yeah.
like,
Imagine there's a dog chasing you or something there, and you're
yes.
like,
Well, and that's the thing.
yeah,
If you've never been chased by a dog, how do you imagine it? How do you
right, right.
increase those levels of arousal? You they're trying, but they never really get there. Like
Um, Having been around so many different Pilates people, I've seen so many different styles, and some of the guys, like Jay Grimes, for example,
mm-hmm.
he was taught by Joseph Pilates,
Nice.
and if you're in the room with him, he'll just say move,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like okay, and then he'll from there, and then you're like okay, well, this is we're doing hundreds, go. So it's not even like set up for your hundreds, retract those shoulders, engage that core, lift your legs, reach to the, like there's not like these this big formalities to the way that it presents, right? Like, so, and then at the same
Yeah.
time, there's people that have that style where it's just like, just go, and I'll give you the cues as we go. And there's other people who can just paint a picture with their words and get
Mm,
you where you need to be in space, and they get you to just flow with it, and they can find the right imagery that works for you and stuff. So I've seen people do it so many different ways,
mm.
and I'm always refining my presentation of it. So I like seeing people who can make it so simple. I like people who use these elaborate words. And the phrase that I use is there's an economy of words.
Absolutely.
And I love that phraseology because like you want to find that economy of words where you can get people to get to the best place in as few words as
Mhm.
possible with them understanding exactly what you want them to do.
Like if I don't play video games, but most people do. Like they have these meters, right? Now, like on the
Yes.
human body, you don't have like a thing right here that says my flexibility is up here, my strength
Yes.
is down
My
here, my
stamina's here, my strength, my power. Yeah, exactly.
you
Here,
don't
yeah.
have that. So we have to create it. So no, the other day I was telling you, I was like, I'm a tech junkie because now if I can get these measurables, now we know now how we can maximize your training.
Yeah.
Because now,
Yeah.
hey, if these two things, we're talking about biomotor qualities, like is
Mhm.
in power, like speed and strength. If your speed is really high, but you can't, like, you don't have enough strength to support what it is that you're trying to produce, guess what? You're always going to either be getting hurt or your movements are going to have to compensate to allow you to move as best you possibly can. So,
Exactly.
in
Right.
group, I think you have to be general and find those things that are a little easier for everyone. But I think once you have a group for a while, the
Hmm.
group starts to morph to you, and now it becomes a unit. But the sign of a
Yeah.
master coach is the ability to regress and progress, because now it's like, hey,
Absolutely.
I know what I can say to them, and they can handle and manage. You know,
Yes.
with
Absolutely.
a lower intent, and already know their habits. Because hey,
Yes.
if I know, hey Sheila, when I tell you to present, you're going to drop your chin, and I'm going to have to tell you to raise your chin up. Or hey, when we're
Yeah.
looking deep into our abs, I'm no, I have to tell you. I like before we even get to the movement. Hey, Sheila, remember this, and now I can
Yes.
really focus on the person. So you
Yeah.
become fine tuned. You know, you're like
Absolutely.
teachers. You know
And
your
and
kids.
dynamics, right? Understanding class dynamics
Yeah.
and who's in the room and all that stuff. And I've said it before too. It's a cheap gift to make an exercise harder.
Oh
It
man.
is it's a higher calling when you're able to make a complicated exercise so that a whole bunch of people can do it at the same time and then move everyone up through it.
Oh yeah.
Like that's the signs of like a great coach when
Oh
you
for
can take
sure.
them through that process, man. You said something earlier I wanted to touch back on energy systems.
Yes.
As trainers, we talk a lot about training muscles. We want to get our biceps bigger, our hamstrings or our glutes bigger for power. How much time do you spend talking about two things? One, training in energy systems, and
Hmm.
two, training in fascial lines.
So all of my training is based around like all of my training and how sessions flow.
Yes.
Either work on creating proper sequence through the fascial line. So for me, if you're doing a warm up or movement preparation,
Oh,
or
sorry. 1 second. Let's take it back
oh,
one half step. Can you explain, like, just in terms of fascial lines, what we mean by that before we start talking this high level? Let's feel.
okay. So when we're looking at fascial lines, like the body is connected in multiple webs of fascia. So you'll have like cross extensor. So you'll have cross fascial line goes across from your shoulder down your torso, goes down, wraps underneath your feet,
Yep.
comes across through. We have sides that are more unilateral. So hey, this right here is going to connect us on our right side from pretty much from from our feet all the way up to our head. We think about our body wrapped in a web of like people laugh when I say saran wrap because it's
Yes.
like if you
Yes.
move saran wrap, all of it moves.
Right.
When you wrap something up, like if you're a mover and you're moving, it's like, and to move that system, because people will say, oh well, you can use a Texas head drum. Like most people have never seen it. Most people
Mhm.
will never see one unless you look for it. So
Right.
you know, but in the kitchen, you know what saran wrap looks like, and
Right.
like simple stuff. If you can, the simpler stuff, the richer I feel it is. Because like,
Yes.
hey, like I'll say this. I'll ask someone. I say, look, so I was like, grab your shirt. If I pinch your shirt up, everything
Mhm.
around it ruches, right?
Yes.
So if we're talking about an impingement. So now, guess what? This is where the fascia is hemmed up and needs to be released, but I feel
Hmm.
tightness in my shoulder. I feel tightness in my chest. When I
Yes.
go to extend, I feel it in my lower abdominals. So there are multiple layers of fascial lines, and depending on what like sports specific movements tend to start to move athletes all into, hey, these similar disorders or similar movement sequences, so the fascia gets used to those movement patterns or muscle memory.
Yes. Yes.
Because now the signal can be sent a lot faster. I
Right.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
But
man.
yeah, at the same time, like you, if I can make it visual for you, like one of the things I can't remember, who was this coach? He said it like Einstein said that, if you can explain it to a child,
Mhm.
you pretty much understand it. Well,
Yes.
this is the thing. A lot of times, once you get to become a high level specialist, you stop dealing at the lower level. Talk about going
Okay.
back and coaching youth athletes, like middle
Yes.
schoolers, because
Right.
their awareness is different, their
Yes.
controls are different, how you're going to be creative at coaching is going to be different.
Yes. That
Now,
keeps you sharp, man. That keeps you
oh,
sharp.
exactly. So if you get so far up the chain, like, yeah,
Hmm.
Boo, hey, Boo's great, because like Boo also talks about like Boo's my guy.
Okay.
Everything is a slave to the brain, as far as in the central nervous system and how the body fires and moves. But what you look at is, if you can't go back and take a high level understanding and bring it to a level to where, hey, you know what? If I were to get a Tamari Davis or a Brianna Williams, an athlete who is like, well, they're super young and they're doing their super high levels, or even like a Candace Hill, uh, it's like, well, how did they get so fast so soon? It's like, well, someone had to have a certain level of
Mhm.
understanding. They had to have a
Yes.
certain level of skill. And in order for them to stay healthy,
Mhm.
understand it, and physically get their bodies to those levels, someone had to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to spoon feed you a little at a time, as
Yes.
opposed to, I'm going to
Right.
take a group of eggs and just dump them against the wall, and whoever
Make
survives, survives.
right. So you're making complex concepts simple.
You have to. Because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, look, 100 meters is this: start after the gun, finish before everyone else. Like, simple. Like, people complicate
Yeah.
these things. Look, keep this stuff
Right.
simple. Hey, look, hey, when you hike the ball, look, I'm going to hand it to you. We need to get down there in 4 plays. If we can get past 10 yards, we get another four
Oh, wait,
plays.
no, a total flashback because my football coach used to say it back in the day. He said basically, my brother's on here too, and Mr. Desjardins used to say, he goes, the
Yes.
whole point of our whole point of our football season is to win our last game.
Win. It's one goal. Hey, let's
One
win.
goal, just
And let's
like
do this
get in
safely.
that championship and just win that last game. That's the whole point of us being here.
Yeah, like you'll hear Dan Paff talking about using a rich word. Well, what makes the word rich is the value that it has to the individual receiving it.
To the receiver, exactly.
Yes. The
Yeah.
communication happens. Like, if I'm saying, hey, dorsiflexion foot, and they're like, oh, hey, uh, I need you to, drive phase, acceleration phase, shin angles, dorsiflexion, tuck your pelvis. Hey, I want you to release your sit bones. All it like, oh, hey, I want you to, your hip creases are here, and it's like you're in there, like, you lose so much intent and intensity through confusion because they don't understand what you're saying. If we're dealing like individuals or groups, one thing at a time. Like, because
Yes.
if I say, hey, get your hand up here, get your toe up there, do this, you're a freaking robot, and you're gonna
Right.
suck. You're gonna get beat. You're not gonna run fast.
But you know, it's funny you say that because like if you read any book on parenting, they tell you the exact same thing.
What's the difference? We deal with
What's
people.
the difference? Yeah. Oh, my wife's a
Like,
joker, eh? It's like,
hey, Alex, superstar.
yes, my
But yeah,
MVP.
yeah, man. Look, look, Alex is a beast, man. She forced you to level up. Like you're in there, like, good God, like look, her in these events. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, Alex, how did you think of that? And she's like, well, I did this and I did that, and then she does her little thing like this. I was like, I don't know why you're moving like that, but okay, I'm going with it.
Just go with it.
Just go with
Yep.
it. But it works. She's
Honestly,
excellent.
man. Yep. But talk about like people who make complicated things look easy too, right? Like
Yes.
you could just envision something and just make it happen before you can just catch up with it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, dude, like she's a visionary. Like
absolutely.
she'll say certain stuff, and I don't even know exactly. Like it's like you hear it, and it's like, and she's like, "We're going to make it work." A lot of these big personalities in a tube, and you shake them together, and there's so much chaos. They're almost in there fighting. Like any NFL team that
Mhm.
has a playoff run, what do you hear? They're fighting in training camp. They're doing all this
Yes.
crazy stuff because you're
Right.
talking about a mix of passion, a mix of focus, a mix of emotion, and a mix of
Yes.
drive, which takes you beyond
Right.
self. And look, even we go back to parenting, brothers and sisters fight, but
Mhm.
look, at the end of the day, I don't want anybody else fighting you. You're my brother. You're my
Right.
sister.
Do you remember that from the Raptors when they were doing all those post playoff interviews? 4, 5, 6 guys come up there and said, "Man, yeah, there's a lot of conflict in the change room, but we tried our best to keep it away from the media." And the next guy come up and be like, "Yeah, there's a lot of disagreements and stuff, but we did our best to keep it away from the media." And the next person comes up like, "You know what? There's a lot of stuff that we didn't see eye to eye, but everyone had the same story. Like, dude, they were duking it out in there, but they kept it to themselves like a family. And
Yes.
kudos to them because I didn't hear much about whispering about stuff in the change room, but like almost everyone that came up was just like, "Yep,
Look, anytime you're on a pursuit for greatness, you have like
thank you."
change is never comfortable, and stretching yourself, going beyond your boundaries is never comfortable. So
Yes,
when you have a group of people trying to do that,
yes,
you're always going to be rubbing against each other. So like I
yes,
said, Steve Jobs had a great thing. He said you put all those very very beautiful stones in there, those rough rocks, and they're rubbing against each other. You get diamonds on the
yes,
other end of it because now
yes,
like even like competition breeds high level performance. Now
yes.
it's not comfortable, but there's very little mediocrity because you will get called out if, hey, look, I'm just not doing it. I'm just not on today, coach. I just can't do
Mhm,
this. And
mhm.
if you're not mentally tough in the sports aspect or any aspect of life,
In any
if you're
aspect.
on a team, you will be exposed.
Well, Jam and I were talking yesterday, and we were on the topic of masculinity,
Mm-hmm.
and that's your baseline test, like man to man. Are you comfortable with being in situations where you are going to be challenged?
True.
Because, like you said, like I love what you said about a pursuit of greatness. Like we're all in this pursuit for greatness in some context or some plane of our lives, and if there's going to be that pursuit of greatness, there's going to be some place where there's going to be conflict. So
Oh,
do
for
we
sure.
move away from places where there's going to be conflict, or do we walk in the direction of the conflict, knowing that truly conflict is something that makes us stronger?
Someone said greatness is relative to the individual. Exactly. Look, if you're a role player, be a role player. Be the best role player you can be. Like
Yep.
if you're LeBron James, be LeBron James. Stop trying to
Yeah.
be everyone on the floor. Just be you.
Mhm.
So when we're talking
Dennis
about like
Rodman.
Dennis Rodman, Scottie Pippen, hey, defensive specialists, guys who are going to do the dirty work, Carmelo. Like, listen, we can go. Look, Steph Curry. Look, you look at the Golden State Warriors on paper. There's no superstars. However, as a unit, they're so great at what they do. They're specialists in their area and they stay in their lane. I was saying fear and risk. So
Yes.
fear is an emotional response. Risk is a calculation of danger or hey, how much probability we have of success. Like having a healthy amount of fear,
Hmm.
meaning like, hey, that's going to elevate your arousal level. This is what those guys who have that X factor that can turn it on is like, hey, listen, if I don't take this many shots, this is the risk factor. If I don't take this many shots or
Yes.
attempt to take this many shots,
Attempt.
we're going
Yep.
to lose this game. So you look
Right.
at like a Kawhi Leonard in the third quarter, or
Hmm.
like, guys who throw up Hail Marys, like Tom Brady, like we talk about that it factor, like those
Yes.
athletes who have those high adrenals, who are able to slow things down and really like
Yes.
the things that are going to, when the game's on the line, allow you to do what it is that you need to do. And honestly, it starts in training, because look, the guy who's going to show up late every day, like I had a
Mm-hmm.
head coach who said, you're never going to cut someone that you're going to miss. And the reason that is
Mm-hmm.
because if they're causing you this much issue as far as in moving forward, and you felt that they were expendable, they didn't deserve to be on your team.
Right.
And
If you had to think about
it
that,
seems mean, it seems wrong, but not look, 100% of those people always come back and say, yeah, you were right to do that, because I
mm-hmm.
wasn't doing what I was supposed to do. And if I had not had that wake up call, then I wouldn't be where I am now.
Yes,
So
yes, yeah, exactly. If you get a chance, watch the Nick Stauskas interview from 2 days ago. We talked a lot about that confidence, that risk, that faith. All those different things that come into play with understanding the value of practice.
I was on it. So I like him talking about like LeBron James being who he is, and him understanding, hey, like taking it as a job. Look, one of
Yes.
the things like we talk about, like people, like just to take this into a business aspect, we talk about
Mm-hmm.
talents, abilities, whatever. But there's one thing to create work. Like before you create a dollar, you have to create some level of work. Work creates that value for you, because now if you're not getting in front of the people to expose them to what it is that you have, like you can have freaking best thing since sliced bread, no one knows about it. Guess what?
Right.
You're gonna be a starving artist.
Um, our mutual friend Kelsey. I man, I played football at university, like just always been strong. And then when I started at Lifetime, Kelsey was like, "Oh, I'm doing this Pilates for athletes class." So I did a Pilates cert maybe 15 years ago, a mat Pilates class, and that was good for me just for helping me, with my back mobility and strength and stuff. So I used it just for my own education at that point. So
Yes.
then I heard Kelsey was doing this Pilates class. So I thought, okay, yeah, I've done Pilates before. I'll jump in. Man, that class, like, it kicked my butt like nothing ever. Like she did exercises, and one exercise was to activate the psoas, to use that to pull the reformer
Mm.
in. One side,
Oh man.
nothing. Other side, like the machine didn't move. It was like it was concrete. I could not move it. And I was at that point, I realized that there's so many imbalances in my body that I had to master this art of Pilates because it owned me that day. I don't like things owning me. That's the athlete in me. So it got
Yes.
me that day, so I'm after it now. So after that, I started doing that class more. There came an opportunity for me to take the cert. I took my full peak Pilates cert through Lifetime, and then I just kept chasing after it. I kept practicing it there. And then 2 years ago, I found a classical Pilates studio downtown, Lily Viola Pilates,
Yep.
and she was offering an apprenticeship where Chris Robinson was going to be teaching the classes.
Oh, okay.
Chris Robinson is a second generation teacher, that Jay Grimes guy I mentioned before, who learned from Joseph Pilates. So Chris trained with him, and Romana, he did his courses with Romana as well, who also taught with Joseph Pilates. So now this appealed to me because it wasn't the Kelseys of the world teaching me Pilates. It was a guy who played football and who was a kickbox champion, and a guy who ran
Yeah.
track, and like, you know what I mean? So in my mind, so there's someone who looks like me teaching this, it just resonated
Yes.
with me. And that's the thing that got me like super passionate about making it the thing, because I recognize that, man, this is like the missing link for a lot of athletes.
Less awareness you have of your body, the more likely, yeah, you may be a great compensator, but you're still in a position where you're going to be hurt.
Joseph Ply's Return to Life Through Contrology, he's not just talking about exercise. He talks about nutrition. He talks about sleep. He talks about getting
Yes.
fresh air. He talks about play.
Yes.
Adults don't play anymore. He's like, go and play. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at all the, like, everything that's in there, it's more than just saying like nutrition is the final frontier. Great, like Noreen is an amazing dietitian. I refer everyone to her. I don't even touch nutrition anymore. Like everyone I know, like if I tell you stop eating candy and you want to still eat candy, that's on you. If you really want to get serious, then I'll hand you off to someone else. So I'm not gonna waste my time trying to tell you how to eat, Let that be someone else's job, because you and I both know that when you want to stop, you'll stop. If you want to move better, come to me. You want to talk about your nutrition, dive deep with that. Here's the best
Yes,
person I know.
I was watching the Michael Jordan thing the other day, and it talked
Yeah.
about. He said if he said if there is a bottle of pills with painkillers in them, and 10 painkillers, and 9 of them will save you, and 1 of them will kill you,
Yeah.
would you
Yeah.
take? He said, would you take that gamble? He said, depending on how bad the headache was. So
Yes.
when you want
Yeah.
it bad enough, look, you're gonna stop. You're gonna stop. Like a lot of people, the sad part is in our field, from especially outside of the performance side, but from the side of fitness and wellness, because
Yes.
I'm a huge believer in wellness, just the overall
Yes.
living well. But is you don't like you wait till you get a diagnosis from a doctor, or you say, oh, I know about hey, things that you should be doing. However, you lack the discipline and wherewithal
Mm-hmm.
to do them. And it's like, well,
Yes.
does do the red flags have to come up? Hey, you're going to die. Like the check engine light in your car have to come on to say, hey, you need to go and get gas, or do you have to break down? Back to that risk thing,
Mm-hmm.
fear and risk. I don't fear
Yes.
being overweight. I don't fear going to a wedding and not fitting into my clothes. I can care. Let's
Right.
get a
Right. Right.
bigger suit, whatever.
Yes.
However, when it's like you got diabetes, or hey,
Yes.
you know you're you're gonna be deathly ill. You're on your deathbed now. It's like, oh, I wish I should have done that. And now
Right.
you
Right.
become a
Right.
marathon runner and all this other stuff. And it's
Nah,
like,
nah, nah.
why wait?
Right. It's funny. We were
Yes,
talking about
holistic approach.
Alex. We were talking earlier about Alex and how much of a superstar she is with planning and events and stuff. Sticking with the car analogy, you have people that fill their tank when it's at half because they're thinking, I
Yes.
want to keep my tank full. And then you have
Mm-hmm.
people who wait till it's on E, and then they say, oh, I need to get some gas. And then you have people like Alex that wait till the light is on, and it's
I
been
know
on
my
E for
car.
2 or 3 days. I know my
I
car.
know my
When I need
car.
to get a gas, I'll put some gas back in it. And that's how people are with their fitness too, right? There's people like I'm
Yes.
good and I want to be optimal. There's people like, okay, I'm going down. I still got some time before I really need to dial it in. And then there's
Yeah.
people who I call my court ordered, people. The doctor said you are 48, you're gonna die at 49 from diabetes if you don't start doing something, and then they sign up. Everyone's different, man. Like there's different sense of urgency. What's she saying here? Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I had to put the gas
Yeah.
in the car for her. Yes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's always good. So, and that's a great point too. Having someone who's going to kick you in the butt, or love on you and be
Yes.
accountable to support you. Because
Accountable.
I don't like the word accountability. And most
Mm-hmm.
people will say, oh, well, you need accountability. I was like, some people, if you're a self-starter, you're a person who's already motivated, you don't need someone, oh, you need to do, no, hey, look, support
No.
me on this journey. I already know, I know,
Yes.
hey,
Yes.
give me
Man,
another hand, help me out.
we
Exactly.
could talk for another like 50 minutes on the one word we haven't even touched on yet is motivation. Because
Okay.
if you have accountability all comes down to motivation, right? If I'm
Mm-hmm.
internally motivated, I don't need an external accountability as much as someone who is externally motivated. And
True.
everyone's different, right? So some people feed off the a crowd's applause and getting that bonus at work and all these different things that motivates them. And there's another person who says,
Yes,
I have mouths to feed, I got a mortgage, I'm gonna get this done.
exactly.
So they don't need as much external motivation. So they don't need as much accountability because they're so internally driven, whether
Yes.
it's work life or sport, right? So your level of motivation determines your level of accountability. I think they vary,
Oh, for sure.
accordingly, right?
For me,
Yes.
I'm a person I want you to find your own. Like, I'm going to guide you.
Yes.
We're going to have these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you some very difficult questions. But at the end of the day, I can't want it for you.
Yeah, no, I have to check myself on that so many times because I know that, and I'm sure this is just the way we're talking. I'm pretty sure this is you too. I have to catch myself sometimes because there's times that I want it for the person more than they want it for themselves.
Oh, for sure.
And I have to reel myself back in and recognize where they're at, meet them at that place, and start to build them
Yeah.
up from there. Instead of me, who I can see what their potential is, and I want to just thrust them up to their potential, and they're not ready for that yet.
Look, it's someone who's looking down versus someone who's looking up. If you can
Yes.
see down the road, you're going to make different choices than if you're just looking down in your situation. So,
Yes.
like a
Yes.
kid who says, I don't understand why we're running these 200s. I don't understand why I have to lift weights, as opposed to, hey, look, we're 3 or 4 time championship in whatever program, and look, it's a small cost to pay for the big payoff at the end. So
Yes. Put it
so it's
back in
different.
perspective. Yeah, man.
Exactly.
We got a buck 13 left, man. Like 1 minute, 10 seconds left before this IG locks me off, man. We just talked for like 50 minutes straight. Like, didn't even come up for air.
That was fast.
Yeah, that was mad fast. A lot of comments in here. Now, I must say, I have on Facebook, I have the Core Conversations page. So I'm gonna kind of dial this down, put the highlights in, and repost it on Core Conversations.
Good.
So if you're on Facebook, please follow that, because like people are gonna have some more questions. I'll put some of these questions from these comments in there too. And then any online classes you're doing, there's so many guys. These guys are jokers, eh?
I'm reading these
All
comments.
that, yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
it'll be on IG for 24 hours, but I'll make basically just I'll summarize this, and then people who got more questions want to continue the conversation. It'll be on Facebook at Core Conversations.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, man, thanks. Great conversation. Thanks so much, man.
No problem. No problem. Take care. I appreciate it.